my agent was Joe Siegel at the time. And he was like, the owners of the Rams want to talk to you to ask about what you think about Sean McVay. And he'll tell you, if you ask him, Sean McVay would tell you, I had parts on getting him that head coaching job.
You're going into your 15th NFL season.
Yeah.
How much of a blessing is that for you to just have such a long career in the game that you love?
I'm not really sure if I'm gonna play next year or not. You know, I know I announced it and said I was gonna play, but it just really, at this point where I'm at in my life, it got to be the right fit. You know, played 14 years in the NFL. You know, going to Philly, going to Washington, Tampa, going back to Philly, and then playing for the Rams, and then playing for the Raiders. You know, it just got to fit right for me. But you know, my career has been, you know, one hell of a ride.
DeSean Jackson, who accelerates, caught the opening play, and all the way for a touchdown.
I interviewed Michael Irvin recently, and he said that a man retires for two reasons: loss of skill and loss of will.
Nah.
You obviously don't have loss of skill.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your desire to play is what is kind of has you on the fence in the decision of if you're actually going to do it?
You know, playing 14 years in the league, like I say, I've already surpassed every level of I ever thought I would, you know, accomplish. To be able to say I'm, you know, one of the best deep threats ever, you know, beat Jerry Rice's record, Randy Moss's record. One record that I don't have of Jerry Rice's, which was the 50-plus one, but I think I'm like 2 touchdowns away from it. But, you know, having
That's one reason in itself to go back.
That's one, but it's like, do I keep chasing goals? Goals are meant to be broken. So regardless if I do it, I mean, eventually it's gonna get broken.
Someone's
but
gonna do it, yeah.
To be able to say I'm at that top class, that top echelon elite class, I mean, like I said, if the right situation calls and, you know, great quarterback.
What does that situation look like? Is there a specific team?
There's a few teams, you know. I'm gonna
Is it
throw
the
out some
Chiefs?
fillers. Chiefs may be one. The Browns, maybe
The Green Bay?
Russell Wilson in Denver. Green Bay. you on the right track.
Yeah.
So we'll see for sure.
2014, statistically one of your best seasons, 3rd Pro Bowl selection, Philadelphia Eagles, the city loves you. The head coach at the time, Chip Kelly, you know, had kind of a stigma, especially with the players. He was one of the reasons you ultimately got released. Did you feel backstabbed by that, especially moving how you moved with him?
You know, for me, I just try to, when I revisit, you know, old times of the past, I try to pull out the positive in every bad situation. Him coming in, he kind of had like a college mentality where when you're in college, you have to almost keep up with these kids. You got to make sure they're on time to practice. They got to make sure they're going to class. You got to make sure they're going to study hall. So for me, it was just like things he was doing, I wasn't really willing to commit to that.
But you still had a level of respect for him as the head coach, and he didn't reciprocate that to you. Some
coaches, you might say it's a level of respect, but to a coach might be, if you're not doing everything I ask you to do, it's a lack of respect, or you're not cooperating, or you're not abiding by my rules, you get what I'm saying? So it just became one of them things where it was just certain things he was asking me to do, and it wasn't just me, it was other players as well too. I'm not gonna say the names, but other players were shipped out, traded, released. When he first came in, first of all, I gotta get this straight, when he first came in, all the starters, there wasn't no starters. When he was the head coach, he was like, everybody is equal. Everybody got to earn their spots. We like, you talking to Pro Bowlers, Michael Vick, Sean McCoy, Jerry McIntyre, like you telling dudes that are literally like all-time
Superstars.
GOATs in Philadelphia, you get what I'm saying? So it was just like, but once again, you know, allegations, conversations was made up, old records was pulled up. It was just a lot of things that I really didn't respect.
You had to feel disrespected. You've given everything to the city. You've given everything to the franchise. You're released, and then that happens.
Yep. So, you know, it's crazy you ask, because I can remember doing a one-on-one sit-down with Stephen A. Smith during the time, and this was like right when I got released. I was actually going on a trip to Washington, you know, meet with the team and meet with the coaches and the owner, Dan Snyder, the whole nine. But I remember sitting there and really talking. You know, Stephen A. is a great guy, got a great relationship with him. But, you know, at the end of the day, when, you know, you work for these networks and these ESPN, whatever it is you're working for, you have to, you know, not answer, but you have to take sometimes what they want you to say and put in their, you know, an interview. And I feel like when he was asking me certain questions, I knew it wasn't really him asking these questions, but he had to ask them, and it just kind of kept asking, like, you're not a gangbanger, right? Like, you sure you didn't? But at the end of the day, like, I don't have a record, never been to jail, I'm not a felon, like, I'm a clean slate guy. So it's like, regardless of, like you said, if I'm hanging out or I have friends, or when I am in the offseason, I'm going back to Crenshaw and Slauson and hanging out. I mean, as long as I'm not involved in doing crazy things, whatever gangbanging consists of, what's the issue? Like, I represent what I represent. I come from where I come from. At the end of the day, everybody throws up a sign or does something when they make a three or when they score a touchdown. So the minute I'm throwing something up on Instagram, it's like, oh, he's a gamer because I come from South Central Crenshaw District. Like, but, you know, for me, like I say, I feel great about where I'm at in my life. I feel great about my involvement in the community. I feel great about, you know, my inspiring, my touch to the youth. I know where my heart is, and my heart is to really just inspire change and give these kids something to look for. Because I know growing up in it, sometimes you don't have no hope, you know?
Game is over! The game is over! The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions! Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you!
2018, the Eagles win the Super Bowl. You are in Tampa at the time. You come back to Philly next season. What were your emotions returning?
I think the biggest thing about that year when they won the Super Bowl in 2018, it really felt like I was a part of that. Even though I wasn't on the team, like, I really felt like the early days in Philadelphia when I came in there, you know, you had the Dominic Manaz, the Brian Dawkins, the Brian Westbrooks. You had all them type of guys. So for me coming into that, it was like I knew what it took. I knew the hard work we had to put in. Like, I knew what we built. I knew what we created. So, I mean, it just took a couple years for them to, you know, get their Super Bowl. But I really felt connected to it. I was actually rooting for them. I wasn't a hater. I wasn't sitting back salty like, I hope they lose. Like, I really felt like a lot of the guys that was there was like kind of came up under me. The Brandon Grahams, you know, Nick Foles, all them guys. Like, because I know what the fans. One thing about it, no fans like Philadelphia. Like, the passion. If you ain't doing good, they're going to boo the heck out you. But when you're doing good, they love you to death. But, I mean, I don't know. I never seen fans like them. It was just, they felt like they was actually playing. I guess they feel like they really competing at a level. Like, when they in the stands, they competing against every other fan, and they feel like they the best fans in the world. And I know they are.
Would you want to retire as a Philadelphia Eagle?
You know, it's crazy you asked that because I've been thinking about that. When I played 6 years there and then another 2 years, so 8 years out of my 14 years, I think I would say, yeah, I would probably retire Eagle, but I had some great years there. And, you know, I was at my prime, I feel like. Even though when I got a little older and was at 30, 31 years old, I still felt like I was at my prime. But I think the early prime years, the DeSean Jackson early years, yeah, that was it. So I think probably Philadelphia.
I want to fast forward now to last year. NFL Twitter, fellow athletes, the city of Los Angeles, LA natives are excited you're returning home. LA Rams, I'm sure you're excited. You went into that situation optimistic, I would assume, right?
Sure.
It didn't work out. What happened?
Whoa. So to fast forward a little bit, so 2014 to 2017, Sean McVay was actually my offensive coordinator in Washington. I was there. Him and Jay Gruden, you know, recruited me once I did get released from Philadelphia. And when Sean McVay is getting interviewed for the Los Angeles head coaching job, I think this is when I'm in Tampa. I actually get a phone call from my agent, was Joe Siegel at the time. And he was like, the owners of the Rams want to talk to you to ask about what you think about Sean McVay. So they calling around, like, asking, like, to their main players, like their star players, like what they felt about McVay, what type of coach did I think he was, blase. So, and he'll tell you, if you ask him, Sean McVay would tell you, I had parts on getting him that head coaching job. Wow. So just fast forward and really just talking, me and him talking and kind of like figuring out, like, if you become a free agent, I'm gonna figure out a way to get you. So once it was possible that we can make it work and the contract worked out, it was just like I almost felt like I was promised a role. Like, you're gonna be our deep threat. We're gonna be doing this, we're gonna be doing that, and implementing all these things to you. And then I know you got your guys already, so for me coming in, I'm older, I'm not expecting to be your main target, right, your main guy. Like, give me a role, let me play my role to the best ability. Still in my mind, I feel like I'm one of the best deep threats to ever do it. So I'm not at that point where I just want to sit on the team because the team is good and just collect a paycheck. Like, no, I want to contribute, I want to play, I want to, you know, earn my money, earn whatever it is that I got going. And it was just like, things didn't really work out. And I was like, yeah, you know what, let's just find a trade. And you know, a lot of people like, man, you stupid, you should have sat there and stayed on the team. But it's like,
your pride.
It's cool and everything, but it's like I would rather play in the Super Bowl and be a contribute instead of just being on the team and didn't play in the Super Bowl and the team winning. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I was on the team to win a Super Bowl, but I didn't play. So at the end of the day, I was like, man, let me try to go somewhere else, and it actually didn't work out, which I was able to sit around for like 2-3 weeks and really not rush to go to a team. And what happened with Henry Ruggs, it was like a perfect fit for me, you know, and the Raiders called him, was like, come up here. So
Was it a different level of disappointment because this is home?
honestly, it was tough. It was a tough process to accept. It was a tough process to go through. I just kind of had to do what I had to do. That's the biggest thing I could say. Like, looking back at it, yeah, I could have been really just like, all right, I'm going to let it be what it be. If, you know, because really it was crazy because Robert Woods ended up getting hurt and they had some other injuries. So if I'd have been on the team, I would have probably played. But, you know, my pride and just me knowing I can contribute and do things at a high level, more to say, was just where I was at. And I said, at the end of the day, if I ain't win a Super Bowl, I ain't win it. But good thing is, he said I'm going to get a ring, so I still get a ring because I played 8 games. You know, I talked to him, he said they was going to give me one.
You said, though, that if you were going to win a Super Bowl, you'd want to have played in it. So you're getting a ring, you didn't play. Right. What does it feel like? Is it like,
it's
thanks
bitter,
for the ring?
It's bittersweet. I think it's bittersweet. And the reason why I say that is because just knowing the competitor I am and just knowing, you know, my edge, like I look at myself like the Allen Iverson of the NBA or like the Michael Vick, like that's what I look up to growing up. Like, that's me. So that edge I have is like, I don't really want anything. Like, I'm gonna earn everything I'll get, like everything I've got, everything I've deserved. Like, I've earned it. You know, I've worked hard for it. Period. So for me, I mean, it's good. I'm gonna probably wear it, but you know, I ain't playing it. But I got a ring though, so I can add that to whatever that is when you retire. I can add it.
Well, your little shelf?
I'm gonna add it on there for sure.
You said something in an interview recently that resonated with me. Somebody asked you how your mental health was, and you said healed. Can you elaborate more on that? What do you mean? Because that's powerful. It's healed.
Yeah. So when I say healed, I mean, I think it's more of like you have a point A to a point B. I feel like I've accomplished point B when it comes down to my mental health, because I work so hard to, for sure, number one, go out of all is take care of mother and father, first and foremost. Anything else after that is plus,
a bonus,
and exceptional.
Yeah.
So for me, I think that was my goal, was to accomplish that. And once I accomplished that, then I start feeling like, okay, well, maybe I can help my friend. Maybe he has a business he wants to start up. And, you know, I have a big heart. So me having a big heart could be that backstab.
It's a gift and a curse.
You get what I'm saying? To be hurt. So that's why I feel like I'm healed now, because I've went through a lot of things and I've learned a lot of lessons, and, you know, I'm just at peace.
When you look at your career and you look at your life, what do you want your legacy to be? What do you want that to look like?
Ooh, that's a good one. You know, for me, I just want to know that I was a stand-up man. You know, I worked hard for everything I deserved and I accomplished. You know, I want them to know I did it my way. You know, sometimes your way is not the right way they want you to do it. You know, they always want you to, you know, to invest in or buy into, you know, how they want you to do it. And I feel like for me, that's why I do have my stigma. That's why I do have somewhat of a negative light when it comes down to certain things. But it's like, that's my way of living. That's my way of accomplishing my goals. And, you know, I want my kids to be able to have something to look up to, you know, like if they ever play sports. I'm not gonna force them to, but if they ever play sports, you know, they definitely got a big milestone to accomplish, and that's being one of the best deep threats ever. So, yeah, I think my name would be written in, you know, in that hall one day. Hopefully, we could put on a good push for that. You know, if I do play another down or I don't, I think the body of work, you know, speaks for itself, and you know, just trying to change the culture, man.
I love that.
It up.
I think the word that we can use to describe you is authentic.
Appreciate that. I like that.
And that's the best way to be.
One of one.
One of one.